Around 150 parents, students, and community members rallied outside Wellesley High School this morning, demanding administrators take stronger action against bullying. The rally was largely centered around Sean Aide. He's a high school student who was violently attacked by several of his classmates over the summer. Sean spoke with WCVB about how he endured months of vicious taunts and then was lured to his old elementary school by 6 boys in July, where he said, quote, his head was slammed into the pavement and he was kicked, punched, elbowed, spit on, urinated on. 4 of those students were charged in juvenile court and got mandated community service. 2 are also reportedly no longer in the school system, but there's at least 1 who Sean says he sees in class. So the Aide family and others in the community are pressing the school to take stronger action. As for the school, the superintendent and the high school's principal put out a statement saying, in part, while we cannot comment specifically about that incident, we know that incidents of bullying hurt our entire Wellesley community. We take any reported allegations of bullying very seriously and follow a specific process of investigation and action. But do they? Sean's case is not the only one about which parents have raised concerns. Since his family went public, others have shared their stories in online groups and other forums, including multiple parents who say racism has been involved in the treatment of their kids and that the school has not adequately responded. Among them is Mary Godwyn, who says one of her young biracial daughters was physically attacked multiple times in her Wellesley Public Elementary School. Mary joins me now, along with one of our regular guests, Tina Opie, whose kids used to go to Wellesley Public Schools as well, till the family moved in part because of their treatment in the town. And by the way, we did reach out to the school almost 24 hours ago. We followed up again this morning, but did not hear back until about 15 minutes before we started taping this segment. Not with a statement, by the way, but to ask what the deadline was to send a statement. We responded that it was immediately, but of course we have heard nothing. Mary and Tina, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you.
Mary, Mary, can you share with us what happened to your daughter, please?
Yes, my second grader, who started at Bates Elementary School just this year, came home and told me that someone had spit on her, that another child had taken a bunch of gravel and put it in his mouth and spit all over her lunch like a shotgun. And at first, when she told me that, I honestly couldn't believe it. I was really taken aback. It's terrible in any situation, but because of COVID, it is really a public health issue. So this was after school. I called the school immediately. I got the administrative assistant at the office, and she put me through to the nurse. So I explained to the nurse what had happened, and to me, I had reported this incident. And I followed up and sent her classroom teacher an email just asking her, how is August doing? How is she adjusting to school? And I was reassured that things were fine. Then it happened again. August was spit on again. Then she had rocks thrown at her. And at this point, I reached out to the principal. And I was in the process of getting an appointment to see the principal to meet with her when I picked August up, and her classroom teacher informed me that August had been hit with a vine and that she had been injured. And there was that she had to see the nurse, and there was a welt on her back that had a Band-Aid on it. And when I asked August what happened, she told me that on the playground, she had been pushed down, she had been kicked and hit, and she got up and ran away. No one interfered. There was never an adult to help her in any of these incidents. She ran away to a wooded section of the playground, and she picked up a vine and raised it to defend herself against this child who chased her. And then she said she thought, no, I don't want to hurt him. And she put the vine down. he picked it up and whipped her and left a welt. And she ran and found a teacher. And I should mention that August was punished for this by the principal. She and the other child equally were punished. So when I met with the principal, I asked her a number of questions, as you can imagine. The first is, why weren't we contacted? I filled out a bullying report as per the policy. And the principal said to me flatly, this isn't bullying. I don't consider this bullying. So I did, my spouse and I pushed her to investigate as they are supposed to. I asked her why August was punished. And she explained to me that because August had raised her hand and threatened the other child, the numerous incidents that she had been through, including being hurt and spit on, were the equivalent. And so they both were punished equally.
You know, if I can, Tina, I want to bring you into this. You took your kids out of the Wellesley Public Schools 5 or 6 years ago. Does this sound to you like anything has changed in the intervening time?
Unfortunately, no. And just to clarify for the viewers, that was one of the reasons we moved also. Understood. Because Wellesley is more expensive than surrounding neighborhoods. But it doesn't sound like enough has changed. And what's really upsetting is that Mary, as a parent, like we were as a parent, we were told that our child had to be punished and for some particular reason. Now,
what happened to your, before you tell us that, what happened to your kids there in those schools?
Well, so I have 2 children, so there were different things. Our son, who is now 18, he was targeted by a family in Wellesley where their daughter was making up stories. And I don't want to use the word lie, because I was told by the Wellesley public school system that if she believes what she's saying, it's not a lie. And I was like, wait a minute. So fortunately, there were cameras on the buses, there were cameras in the halls, and it was found out that she was, in fact, if anyone was bullying, it was her. But this was after our son was subjected to months of maltreatment. Our daughter was spat on. Fortunately, there are some good principals. We had a very good principal at Schofield who refused to let people make our daughter a bad child. But there was a superintendent, who I believe is still there, who actually did harm to our family. And I believe that he is involved with this situation as well.
So that Superintendent David Lucier is still there, yes. By the way. What's Tina, staying with you for a second, what was the impact on your kids of this treatment?
Oh my gosh. I could get emotional. I mean, they were really confused. Because remember, this is a very intimate environment in terms of you're interacting with teachers and principals and administrators and classmates, and you think that people value you, but then you're on the playground and someone spits on you, or someone's family goes to the police on an 11-year-old because they think that he's, quote, too big, or he's going to do harm to our family. It causes a deep level of confusion because you're raised to believe that people, for the most part, are good, and I believe they are. But then things like racism and sexism and the intersection of the two blind people, and it hurts the entire community. So it harmed my children, but that entire community was harmed when our family felt like we needed to leave.
Mary, what's the impact of all this been on August?
It's really been horrific. August is my most social, my happiest child. And she went from a kid who so loved school and was so looking forward to going back to school to a kid who stopped eating at school. She started bringing home her entire snack and lunch untouched. She started waking up at night with bad dreams, dreams about somebody was going to come and hurt us, somebody set our car on fire. So really frightened. August has actually, she's only 7. She has tried to solve this problem. She's asked initially that the other child be moved out of her classroom because she says he stares at her, he looks at her, he makes mean faces, and it's hard. That request was denied by the
Mary,
school.
can I interrupt you only because we actually have video I know that your daughter made in a plea, I guess, for lack of a better expression, to her teacher. Here is just a little piece of what August said to her teacher.
I'm scared. I really wish that wasn't in my class, but if you can move him, can I sit right next to you? And you can keep me safe?
Boy, I'll tell you, it's heartbreaking. And what was the reaction to your family's request and, most importantly, your daughter's request, Mary?
August has asked her teacher every day if she can sit next to her. And every day her teacher refuses. August has asked if she could sit close to the children who have been kind to her. And her teacher wrote me an email saying that would be a safety plan and that is up to the principal. And her teacher has looked at her every day and not moved her to sit close to her. And honestly, I just can't. I know that there are such good teachers out there, teachers that, pay for school supplies out of their own money and put their bodies in front of bullets to protect kids. So I know that there are a lot of teachers who are giving everything, but this teacher, to look at my daughter and not even sit next to her, to isolate her like that in that classroom, it is more than I can bear, honestly.
Tina, we've discussed race on this show with you more times than I can remember. And I probably would have said to you, do you think that if the victims of bullying in this Wellesley public schools are black or biracial, they're treated differently? But as you know, the rally this morning was in great part around a white high school kid, Sean Aids. So is this sort of equal opportunity ignoring of a problem, or is race at its core, at least in the cases of both your families?
Well, just going from the statistics, we know that there tend to be more negative outcomes when you add in issues such as race. So that's the first thing. But I've also shared on the show that race is often a canary in the coal mine, because what I'd like to say is perhaps the rally wouldn't have had to happen this morning if the school system had responded when my son was being treated the way that he was 7 years ago, or however long ago it was. Maybe Mary's daughter wouldn't have had to deal with that if we held the system accountable. And I really want to emphasize that, because it's easy to focus on one teacher and one teacher or one child. We have to look at the system, because the reason why the superintendent or the principal or the teacher may feel that they can continue this is because there's a system behind them that is supporting that. And I just like to say, Mary and I as parents, we're sort of, I don't like the consumer model of education, but we're the consumer, we send our children there. If we are being treated this way, imagine how the staff is being treated inside of the organization. Especially people from historically marginalized people groups. So the staff, the students, the parents, I really hope that we can come together and shed a light on this, because that is how we can protect our children and make our communities safer for all of us.
Tina and Mary, I have to hold it here, but I promise you to be continued. Mary, I wish you a lot of luck with your daughter. And Tina, as always, thanks so much for spending time with us.
Thank you. Mary, I'm so sorry. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.